sitting here with Dr. Tom Denham from Careers in Transition. He has been doing what he's been doing for almost as long as I've been on the earth. I won't give you exact numbers on my age, but I will tell you he's been doing this for a long time. Today's interview is titled Navigating the Job Search in the New Norm. We're sitting with Dr. Tom. Thank you for joining me so much.
Thank you so
much. Not at all. And you're based out of the Capital Region. You're a local guy. Part of what I'm trying to do in running interviews like these is really highlight local businesses, local entrepreneurs, especially at a time like this. So first question is, what are your thoughts on the general sentiment in the public right now in terms of a career search, the job market? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge people's feelings. People are afraid, they're confused, they're de-energized. We don't have very good emotional support networks, and people don't really know what to do. Let me step back and tell you about my process and how people can fit into that process, because career development is a process. You begin with self-assessment, you then go into career exploration, and then you go into action plan. And there's one question that we try to answer in each stage. So the first question is, who am I? The second one is, where am I going? And then the last one is, how do I get there? And so resumes, cover letters, interview skills, LinkedIn, networking, internet job searching, that's how to get there. I think what people need to do now, and people have time to do that, is to do some careful self-assessment. Now, I do that, professionally. I give career tests that can help clarify those things. But just as a quickie, people should inventory what I call your VIPs, which are your values, your interests, your personality traits, and skills. There's also a very good book out there, which I wish I had written. It's called I Don't Know What I Want, but I Know It's Not This. And that's a book by Julie Jansen. I'll repeat it. I don't know what I want, but I know it's not this. And I like the book because it parallels my process, and there's self-assessment exercises in there. So if you're going to buy one job search book, in addition to What Color Is Your Parachute, get that book. That would be the textbook. So I think people right now need to do a careful self-assessment of their finances, where they are in the career cycle, and do that first. That should be the foundation.
Yeah.
There are also 3 types of jobs that people should consider. There's number 1, the ideal. Number 2 is the backup or realistic. And then number 3 is the safety survival job. So the ideal is the one that fulfills all of your needs. Personally, professionally, you're self-actualized, you're in flow. It's almost like it's not work. And I feel blessed because I've been doing this for 30 years and I absolutely love my job. No 2 days are exactly the same. And I just feel like this is my purpose. This is my calling. This is the work I was meant to do. Okay, that's great. But that's also hard to get. And I had a long educational history and made a lot of sacrifices to get to where I am. That's nice. That's ideal. Yeah. Most people have a backup or realistic job, which is less than ideal, but it's a paycheck. You're paying your bills, you have benefits, it's somewhat fulfilling. It's kind of like if an ideal job is an A plus, a backup would be maybe a B minus, okay? The last type of job is you have the safety survival job. And that's the job that you have to take when you're running out of money, okay? It's the fastest to get, and it's also the least satisfying. So I think what we're finding today is there are people in the backup realistic job that now have to go to the safety survival jobs. You're going to see people who were professionals working at, a distribution center, a Walmart, Price Chopper, Hannaford, ShopRite. They need to take those things because they've got bills to pay.
The security aspect of it.
They need the security. You can't be thinking about like, what is God's purpose for me in the work world, and how can I self-actualize when you need to pay your NIMO bill?
Agreed.
And you need to buy groceries and you're running out of food.
Yeah,
You
and
have to
nobody
you have to
wants
take
to
bets.
live in survival mode,
No,
but
it's
that's kind of where I feel like a lot of people are moving towards. They feel like they're in survival mode already, or they're getting into survival mode. Do you think that this will, permanently change, you know, everything socially, job aspect wise?
um, I do, and personally and professionally, um, we don't even really know what the new norm is going to be. We might have somewhat of a vision, but let me just back up and say, in the last 3 weeks, we have had 17 million people file for unemployment claims. Every Thursday, the Department of Labor comes out with their unemployment claims. The first week it was about 3 million. Second week was 6.8, and then last week was 6.2. They're estimating it's going to be between 3 to 5 million this week. If that is correct, that is going to create an unemployment rate of about 15%. During the Great Recession, the unemployment rate was 10%. We haven't seen an unemployment rate of 15% since the Great Depression. And those are just people that have filed and gotten through. That doesn't include people who are sitting on the sidelines trying to get into these Department of Labor websites that haven't been approved yet. So the following week, we're not going to see zero. We may see 1 million, we may see more, we may, it's probably going to be over 1 million, and this may continue. So we
Yeah,
might see an unemployment rate of 20%. So, we can shut down the economy quickly, but we can't reboot it quickly. So
right.
you're right, you can't maintain safety survival. I mean, we can't do that for the long term, for our mental health and for our financial health. One of the things I wanted to say is I appreciate being a guest, but I'm offering no easy answers. And
Right.
for me, as a career counselor, I've been practicing for 30 years. I don't have any easy answers. This is something that's, again, a cliche. It's absolutely unprecedented.
Yeah. And so tell me, I mean, have you ever seen this level of uncertainty? I think that's almost worse,
I
is
I
the level of
never
uncertainty.
I have never seen this uncertainty. But it's not just economic. It's emotional.
Right.
It's, you know, we didn't close church. We didn't shut down sports. During 9/11, I went to work and got a paycheck. It was an absolutely horrible experience. Almost 3,000 people died. Uh, but this is absolutely uncertain. We have no idea when this is going to end. We could open up in June and then see a spike in July because we haven't tested everyone and they may be asymptomatic. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but it's going to take a long time for this to recover. And I'm not here to be critical. I would like to offer hope, but we have to be realistic about this. I think it's a myth that we're going to open up the economy in the middle of May. And even
Yeah.
if we do, if they say, oh, it's safe to go back to work, can you be certain? Can you be certain? You go back to work and 5 people are asymptomatic and you're going back into that office. How are you going to behave? How are you going to act? Are you going to wear a face mask? Are you going to wipe things down? You're going to wear gloves? How do you go to a job search now? A lot of job searches or interviews are being done by Zoom. Is an employer really going to hire somebody just through a Zoom conference call? Maybe it would be several Zoom conference calls, but eventually in the old world, we would have an in-person meeting. So things are going to radically change. And quite frankly, we're learning every day.
Right.
We're just learning incrementally how to handle things. I think when we first shut down, we didn't have any idea of what that would look like. And now we're kind of in a new normal. You
Yeah.
stay at home and this is what you do. But we have no idea.
Well, like you said, it's unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I hope I never see anything like it again, because it's radicalizing the way people have to choose to do business, how people do things socially, in their career, how businesses look for new customers. Do you look for a new customer right now? Are you trying to make sales? Do you make sales? Um, it's a really tough, situation to deal with from anybody's perspective. I think the one thing that we all have going for us is that we are all going through it. Everybody is,
Yes, that's right. I mean, there is no industry that is not impacted for this. And I've been posting things on my Facebook page, and I always do a hashtag, we are all in this together. I think this is also bringing out the best in us and also the worst in us. You've got people who are, going around neighborhoods and dropping off groceries, and people are sharing and being friendly, and then you've got hoarders and all kinds of other negative behavior patterns.
The TP run, that made no sense to me.
Yeah, right. Well, it's this panic behavior pattern, and now there are these meat packaging plants in the country. There's one in South Dakota that represents 5% of the nation's pork supply, and there's over 400 people in that plant that have tested positive for the virus, and so they've shut down that plant. So now you may see panic buying in meat because that's been in the meat. So if pork is first, maybe then it's going to be chicken, maybe it's going to be beef. So where are we going to get those? And the supply chain might break down. So again, this is a completely uncharted territory. So we're trying to do job searches, we're trying to update our resumes, and at the same time it's like we're running out of food here. And the other thing that's absolutely crazy is that there are farmers out there that are tilling under freshly grown corn, soybeans, and they're dumping milk because there's a break in the supply chain. Meanwhile, people are in these food bank lines with their cars needing food. So you've got this complete contradiction between we've got too much food over here and we don't have enough over here. So this is a science fiction movie. That
really is.
It's a daily new episode. It's really quite crazy. But we will get through this. My hope is that we will be better people. And
I hope so too.
Yeah, and the number one question is, what are we learning from this? What are we learning about ourselves? How can we be better people? What are we learning about ourselves and our country? I think in the future, we will always have a store of food. We will probably save money more. We will have an emergency fund, and hopefully we'll be kinder and gentler to one another.
I used to work in the financial industry, and that was something I could not stress to people enough, was having 6 months of your salary, whatever you're used to earning, saved and just sitting in an account as an emergency fund. And, I think now that people are seeing such a catastrophic time that they've never seen before, I think people will start to take that advice seriously. I had so many, especially millennials, no offense to y'all, I'm one of you, but they've had a struggle, to understand the concept of saving 6 months worth of salary. That seems like a ridiculous, no, now it doesn't though. I'll tell you, you better not think it's ridiculous from here on out. What's your advice to somebody who's just been laid off?
I think going back, do your self-assessment. One of my pieces of advice is, if it's not written, it's not real.
Okay. Keep
a journal. You have a lot of racing thoughts, write them down, whether it's personal or professional. You're doing a lot of reflecting. What are some of your thoughts? Do you need to update your resume? That can be a tangible action item. I help people with that. Have you updated your LinkedIn profile? Are you reaching out to your contacts and connections? Are you doing an internet job search? Are you promoting yourself? Are you calling your contacts and connections? We can do texting, we can do email, we can do calling, we can do Zoom. So are you building that networking base. I think one of the things that we're going to learn is it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. So for those people that have not developed their networks, I hope they'll learn that in the future, wow, this is something really important that I need to do is build my network. But right now, getting your career tools together, which is your resume, getting that updated, and then your online resume is your LinkedIn profile. So I just took on this one client, and he's got a decent resume. It needs to be revised. But then I checked out his LinkedIn profile, and it was a hot mess. And the internet is the first place we go to find anything. And so if you apply for a job or they Google you and they see this LinkedIn profile that's not complete, there's no picture, there's no background, the work experience is not filled in, there's no recommendations, there's no endorsements, the about or summary section is not filled in, that's the first impression they get of you. So
and they Google you. In case you're out there skeptical about whether they Google you, I promise you that you have been Googled by every employer in the past six months to 5 years, I'd say. Right. You've been Googled.
And the other part of that self-assessment is to clearly write down what are the ideal jobs, specifically, what are the backup realistic jobs, and what are the safety survival jobs. The other thing people should do is determine and be disciplined and intentional about how many hours a day you're going to do work on your job search. But then you should quit after a certain time. If you're going to do all this, almost like pre-building, and then you're going to launch when things are up, that's fine. But at 5 o'clock, you just need a break. And don't do your job search on the weekend if if you can avoid it. My church, for example, we have a YouTube video, but we also have our fellowship hour through Zoom. That would be a good opportunity to say, I need some help. I don't need food. I'm trying to do a job search. These are the areas that I'm looking for. Do you know of anybody that I could talk to?
Networking within your community.
Right, yes. If a lot of social clubs are getting together and just trying to provide emotional support. So one of the rules is reach out, reach out, reach out. And because of this situation, we're going inward and not in a good way. Self-assessment, you're supposed to go inward, but only so far. Okay. Yeah. Don't go dark.
I feel like a lot of people who are struggling with, who have mental health issues, this just augments it. And it's easy to get trapped in a negative thought pattern. Right. And that's good advice. Don't get caught up in that negative thought pattern. I struggle with that from time to time. And so I wholeheartedly agree with that. Assess, but don't obsess.
Right.
For sure. What are some
Can I just make one? I just want to build on that. I would have people who are listening to this write down what their dream team is. Who are the 5 to 10, 6 to 12 people that you can contact for emotional support? Again, if it's not written, it's not real. You have so many thoughts going on in your head that you can't keep them organized. So please write it down. Who's the dream team? Reach out to them. And one of the things that we really have a problem with, especially in adulthood, is asking for help. And so, we are more than happy to help people who need our help, but we don't like to ask for help. This is the time. If you do not ask, you do not receive. And people want to help you, but they don't know what you want. And if you're asking them, I need a job, you may want to tell them, these are the areas I'm thinking about. Do you know of any other areas that I might consider?
Wow. What kind of companies are currently going to be the industries that increase, that are going to be hiring and doing growth at this time?
Well, I think we can just think about how our lives have changed. I mean, we've gone from restaurants to takeout. Okay, so any kind of delivery, takeout services, there may be some opportunities there. Distribution centers, we've seen a growth in Amazon, ShopRite, Hannaford. A lot of the retail companies have downsized. I mean, Dick's laid off 40,000 people. It might be good to work for for Zoom. I mean, they've gone through the roof. But
Right.
you think about what are our basic needs, and those would be the job growth areas. But again, that may be short term, temporary. What are the places that are open right now? So, for example, Stewart shops, they're open. They're essential.
That's wild. I love Stewart's. Okay, I
I
love
did.
Stewart's.
They're a fantastic company, and they're good corporate citizens.
I agree. I love Stewart's shops.
Yep.
I think that it did shock me when I heard that they are essential. But I understand the gasoline aspect of it. But then, if you're going to close places like churches and sporting events and things like that, how do you limit what companies, how do they choose which businesses to close, which are essential and which are non-essential?
There
Because
is
I
a
was almost
list.
surprised at that.
Yeah,
Yeah?
there is I was reading the Times Union, and there is a list of probably on the Department of Labor website or the governor's website. You could just Google New York State essential services, and that would be where job growth would be, if there is any job growth. And unfortunately, many of these businesses, many of the non-essential businesses, won't be coming back. So we're going to have a very, very different picture. I mean, you're going to see people who are, normally professionals mowing lawns and doing, manual labor types things that can't be done remotely from home. So it will be very different.
Wow. And I'll tell you, there's no shame in that. I feel like there's going to be a big mental struggle for people who used to put a lot of stock in their title, a lot of stock in the zeros behind their paycheck, who are, going to have to realize that your value never lied there. Your value was never there.
I mean, jobs that some people would criticize or put down. For example, I don't think you'll ever look at somebody who's your checkout clerk at the grocery store again in the same way.
Yeah.
You just won't. I mean, I've been thanking those people. I don't think we're going to look at truck drivers the same way. Everything that you own, unless you made it yourself, came on a truck.
Yes, it did.
Everything came on a truck to somewhere. Okay. So this pen, you can't see it, but this pen, for example, that was delivered on a truck to a store where I bought it. And everything in Amazon is done on trucks. You gotta commend the people who are working in these distribution centers. The problem is, where the job growth is, you could be vulnerable to the virus. I mean, there are people that are working in grocery stores that are susceptible to people coming in with the virus. Now, I'll just give you a little story about Stewart's the other day. One of the ways, and this is a personal plug, one of the ways that I've been dealing with the social isolation is to go to nature preserves. And you could go on the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy website. There's a list of 16 different preserves there. I've been going to these preserves, and there's like nobody there. So I went to this preserve called the Fox Preserve. It's in Colony. I got there and I parked my car. There's only one car in the parking lot. I mean, and I went around the preserve, and it was great. And it was great to get out of the house. Then I had to go to Stewart's shop to get some laundry detergent. I walked in, there were 12 people in the store. So way more people in a confined space than the nature preserve. 2 people, including myself, were wearing masks. It was the 2 shop clerks there were not wearing masks. And I thought to myself, Stewart's has got to have a corporate policy about this. This is not a joke. People weren't social distancing. I think they were doing it defiantly. And I don't think they understood that it really is not about you. It's about you infecting somebody else. So I'm just going to encourage people to get out to their local nature preserve, and you can just Google them and get out there, because if there's a difference between social distancing and social isolation. And if you stay socially isolated, you're going to go bonkers. And certainly your mental health, if it hasn't already, is going to take a hit. And the nature preserves are a safe place to get out there.
Oh, that's a great tip, a very great tip. One more question for you. what are your personal goals? Where do you hope to see yourself in 3 to 5 years? I wanted to shock you.
You know, there are three types of goals. There's short term, which are goals that you can do in a year. There's intermediate terms, like 2 to 3 years. And then there's goals like 5 years and beyond. And certainly in the long term, I want to have more clients. I want to grow my practice. I want to have good work-life balance. I want to continue that. There's a lot of maintaining things that I've done. I mean, in the beginning of my practice, you know, I'm networking all the time. I'm trying to get as many clients, and now I have a good array of clients, but I always want to get more and grow the practice at a reasonable pace. But I think right now, short term, I think most of us, our goals have been shattered. So for example, I'm a runner. All of my races in April got canceled. All of my races except one. I have a triathlon at the end of the month. I'm just waiting for, in the next couple of days, they're probably going to cancel that. I'm also a rock climber. That's my true passion. My rock climbing gym has been canceled for a month and a half. I don't know when that's going to open up. And personally, even if it opens up, I live with somebody who's elderly, my mom, and she's disabled. She has dementia. My number one goal is protecting her from the virus. If I go to the gym and everyone's putting their hands on the handholds, I may come down with that. So the number one thing that I like to do, I can't do. So I think a lot of people's goals have been shattered. You know, they were talking about, well, maybe in August we'll go on summer vacation. Most people are not going to have enough money to go on summer vacation.
Yeah.
How do you book a summer vacation now
when
there's just so much uncertainty? I had to cancel my summer vacation. I'm a rock climber. I was going out west to Seattle of all places, and I had to cancel it because there was just so much uncertainty. So I think your short-term goals, like for me, one of my short-term personal goals is to go to as many nature preserves as I can. And I've been tracking them and enjoying that. And I have a list. When you have goals, it propels you forward. And right now, I think that's a problem because a lot of our goals have been shattered.
Yeah.
But we are going to get through this. And if you have goals now that are not going to work out, put them into next year.
Revise them.
They have to be revised.
Yeah.
You know, your goals list has to be a flexible document that you can revise and change. Many of the races that I want to do, they postpone them for next year. They're saving your race fee for next year.
Yeah.
I already got one on the calendar for next year, but you've got to have something to look forward to. The problem is we don't have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a mental state of mind that people can choose to put themselves into or take themselves out of. So if you don't have goals, now is the time to do it. There's no excuse. There's no, I don't have time to sit and write this stuff down. All you have is time, my friend.
Yeah. And just on a personal note, I'll just tell you one of the things that I'm doing. I am going through every single drawer in my house, dumping it out and cleaning it. Not reorganized, like literally dumping it out. I am donating certain things. I've trashed other things, and then I've reorganized. And I do one drawer per day. Everyone has that junk drawer, but I've gone through my sock drawer, my t-shirt drawer, and I have a whole pile of things that I want to donate. Let me tell you, the house is a lot lighter. It's immaculate. And that gives me that feel good. Like I got something done.
That sense of accomplishment.
You know, if I take out this drawer and I dump it out and I clean it out, that's what's called a micro goal. Okay. But if you do that every day and you do 30 drawers in the month of April and May, you're going to feel like I got something done.
Yeah.
And no one can say that I didn't get to, you know, a project unless they're working in it, unless you're a nurse in the medical field or something where you're in high demand and you really don't have time.
Agreed.
And then, you know, that's the interesting thing is we've got career fields where people are like working way overtime, and then we've got, you know, other career fields where people are like burnt out from Netflix. You know, it's like, you know, they're doing 20,000 piece puzzles at home while our healthcare workers, like, you know, they've gotten 2 hours of sleep.
It's true.
See, and that's the bizarre thing about what's going on is all these extremes and things that we never even imagined. I mean,
Yeah.
social distancing, what a foreign concept.
I agree, especially in our culture. You know, we were just getting back into, I feel like this next generation's the Gen Zs were trying to swing around and become sociable again. Yeah. And now this.
Well, I think this is going to make us better people. I think we'll be more resilient people. You've got to go through this pain. I mean, if you look at the Depression era, we used to, poke fun at people who were in the Depression era, and they would, like, my mom would say 15 yogurt containers. I'd be like, Mom, why do we need all? Oh, we can
Yeah.
use them. I'm like, what the heck are you going to use
My
all these things
grandmother,
for?
yeah, she
Yeah,
does
and
the
I
same
think
thing to this day.
we're going to be better people because it's affected everyone. We're just going to be more conservative with our money. We're going to save, we're going to plan for retirement. We're going to have food on hand more. We're going to have, toilet paper on hand. Hopefully we'll be just kinder to people.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, one of the things I've learned is virtual doesn't count it. It doesn't cut this. I appreciate this interview, but it doesn't cut it.
It's nothing like meeting somebody face to face.
It really is not.
No.
It's just, I mean, we're doing the best we can. This is essential. But for me, going to church and watching it on YouTube, it's just not cutting it.
A totally different atmosphere. And I feel like people should now more than ever realize how much we truly are social creatures. We do thrive on being around others. It's true.
And the last thing is, I don't want people to give up hope.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I feel like. The sense of hopelessness is really probably worse than the virus.
And that's a function of what's going on in our mind. That's why we need to reach out as best we can to our friends and our family and our networks to have that sense of community and not lose hope.
Yeah, I agree. Dr.Tom, Denham.com. Dr. Tom, you are the best.
Thank you.
I love your personality. I love chit-chatting with you. If you ever need anything in terms of career counseling, resume work, this is your man. All right? Careers in transition. God bless you, Dr. Tom. Take care,
God bless
okay?
you. Okay, thank you. God bless everyone. God bless America.